One of the other motivations for the book was I was teaching a course on international mediation and peacebuilding. And again, I was like, well, where's the textbook? And like everybody said, oh, when I was first new at this, it was, you put your syllabus together, you get your textbook. And there wasn't a textbook. At least there wasn't one that covered all the issues that I wanted to cover. And so I began, writing pieces of it here and there. I began finding good resources that other people had written and put them together. But it wasn't really coherent in the way that I wanted it. So the book ended up serving as the textbook for my class on international mediation and peacebuilding. So the book is divided up into 3 sections. There's a first section is about basically the theory, the why in theory this kind of approach is necessary, and specifically the model itself and how it was developed, and sort of a look at how it could be used and why it can be helpful. A little bit of validation of it, although we haven't had enough time working with it to really sort of validate it, I think. The second part of it is the analysis and planning section. So the first part is, yes, we need to do systems mapping of conflicts. We need to look at conflicts and societies as complex systems. The second part of the book takes the theory that was developed in the first part, the model, the SAT model, the structural, attitudinal, transactional model, and it says, now here's how you could use that to assess a particular context, a particular social system. And then based on that assessment, you can then produce a systems map. So here's how you can process that assessment into a visual that brings together both lots of bits of data, but tells a coherent and compelling story. And it's a visual. The systems maps are visualization techniques that tell you something very different than what you can learn from just reading a text-based report. And then the last part of the second section is about planning. It's the so what. So if I get this systems understanding of a social context, well, how does it help me? And that ended up being probably of all the parts of the book the most challenging to write, because it was in a lot of ways the newest part of that, and helping people to process a systems map. My first experience working with a non-governmental organization to do a systems map of the country they were working in. We did these systems maps with the group. I thought they came out pretty well. I was expecting people to be really excited and empowered, and they looked at the systems map and their jaws just dropped. And they said, "Oh, I can't actually say what they said, but oh my, we're insignificant. What can we do when that's so complex? And we're just talking about little bits here and there." And what I realized was that it wasn't just obvious. So the systems map didn't make it obvious what to do next. So the planning section walks people through that process of understanding and taking out of a systems map, learning from a systems map as to where to intervene, how to intervene. And it talks about how to work with systems and how to use the power of the system to leverage your localized project, as opposed to the system undermining your project. So many projects that are successful are like, you build a sandcastle on the beach and it looks great for an hour and then it gets washed away. And a lot of projects are like that, where for the first 6 months or year or 2 years even, it seems to be going really well. But the system goes back to its previous status quo. It just kind of wipes out the project. So that's what the planning section really focuses on. And then the last section of the book is on implementation. And it basically takes the idea that you need transactional peacebuilding, you need transactional activity to really be a catalyst for systems change. And it sort of is a primer on how to use those techniques, how to use the techniques of negotiation, mediation, facilitation. There's lots of different third-party roles that I articulated in there, and how to play those roles to be a catalyst for systems change. One of the basic premises of the book is that systems change best when systems change themselves. And that means you've got to work with people in the system and find a way to nurture what they're doing and help them do things that will improve the overall health of the system. And that's kind of what the last section is about. So it's both a good textbook for that kind of course that goes from theory through analysis and planning to implementation. And it's also helpful, I think, for practitioners because, yes, they need to understand the theory behind what they're doing, but if they don't see how to put that theory into practice, it's going to be much less useful to them. So that's the sort of formula I followed in the book, and I think why it's helpful, I think, both to the academic audience and to the practitioner audience.